Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to do the Old Review Omnibus Volume 10. So, we finally made it to 10 Old Review Omnibuses. Yes, I still have older material that has never been released on this channel, so we're gonna keep going. So the theme of this Old Review Omnibus will specifically be sci-fi movies. I try to have themes, sort of loose themes, but this one, they all are sci-fi movies. I don't think they're all sort of the same kind of sci-fi movies, but they all are sci-fi movies. This one is going to have 3 rough cut videos and 1 review that has not been online in maybe over 5 years, that is now finally being brought back and will forever be released in this Old Review Omnibus compilation. So anyway, I think it's a cool bunch of reviews. I'm proud of each of them. There's probably one I would re-review, which is the first one. And I think it's kind of cool that these are coming out. I don't know why I picked sci-fi. I think originally because of Star Wars maybe, but I didn't put this out in December, so I guess it's sort of like whatever. But this is some of my older stuff. As per usual, I like doing these because it's kind of like reminds me of where I came from and how I don't live in that apartment anymore and stuff like that. Mainly makes me think, oh wow, I've been doing this for a really long time. Specifically this one, I think, brings that up. So the first review is my review of Masters of the Universe. This is actually, in terms of reviews from me, this is, I guess, a little more important as it is the first Rough Cuts one that is part of when I regularly had the Tuesday slot. You'd have to pick a slot throughout the week, so it would be like each different critic had a different day on the Rough Cuts, and I had Tuesday. Interesting that Tuesday, because that's the day Pizza Party comes out. So Tuesday throughout my YouTube career has always been an important day, I guess. So this was the first one that was a regular one. The Public Enemy one, which was the first one I made for them, was more of a replacement one, and this was one they actually gave me the day that I did Masters of the Universe. It was always a big movie for me growing up. It's always been sort of a guilty pleasure of mine, and a movie I've always sort of liked. So, but I guess I've sort of done this twice because I also did a kind of funny kind of riff track type commentary for it with the Oh the Anthem podcast, and I'll have a link up here and in the description of that, which I believe is still up. I think we did a pretty good job with, and it's pretty funny and something I'm proud of also. So I've done a lot with Masters of the Universe, and you know, and it was a big movie for me growing up, and I did actually see it in the theater. The next review after that is 2010, which I actually reviewed in the year 2010. I used to be embarrassed of this review because I got a lot of shit for it, maybe just from people I know. I don't think I got shit for it online, but because I just sort of offhandedly, instead of saying Bob Balaban, I just said it was the dad from Ghost World, which was a bit of a joke but seemed to not go over very well. It kind of soured my relationship with this review, and so it either got a copyright claim or I just kind of said fuck it and took it down. And I think this one's been down for a long time, like maybe 5 years. It's definitely been unreleased for longer than it was ever released, which is kind of a shame. It's not the greatest review, but I did make it in 2010 because it was 2010. This movie was called 2010, and I've been doing reviews since 2009, but I thought it was being like clever by doing that. Not that 2010 is a great movie, but I did it because it was the same year that the movie came out. So not that exciting, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a 2001 sequel, but it's not 2001. I go over it. It's the old way I used to do reviews and things like that. I think it's different, but it's kind of cool to look back at how I used to do reviews for at least a good couple first years with pictures and going on around here and so forth. Just sometimes do a little bit now, but not to the extent I was doing it then. After that, this is kind of like half the sci-fi Old Review Omnibus is non-horror sci-fi, and then the other half is horror sci-fi. And the first one is Fire in the Sky, which was a movie I used to be afraid of as a kid, and I go more into that and how it used to terrify me even though I had not actually seen the movie, but the idea, I guess, and the poster and the TV commercials scared me, and I kind of go into that and actually having seen the movie, which is sort of interesting. And then finally, it's my review of It, The Terror from Beyond Space, which was a major influence on the film Alien. Anyways, so I hope you enjoy this sci-fi themed Old Review Omnibus, and I'll see you at the end. And here we go. I kind of dip into my past of reviewing science fiction films that have never previously been on this channel before. Hey, what's up, Rough Cuts? It's Jim. Today's Tuesday. I am the new Tuesday person for the Rough Cuts, and today's film is Masters of the Universe. Now, Masters of the Universe is the big screen 1987 adaptation of the television series and toy line, mostly the toy line, Masters of the Universe, or more affectionately as I called it when I was into this, when I was like 3 and 4, He-Man. Masters of the Universe starts off really strong. Well, after the opening credits, it starts really strong, and you have the camera's always moving, you have Skeletor coming to this great throne room set, and he like stomps in, they're like just taking it over. They're on the planet Eternia, and the matte paintings on this planet are amazing. The sets look pretty inspiring, and you're like, oh man, if this is the intro stuff, I can't imagine what this movie's gonna be like. And then Dolph Lundgren attacks these stormtrooper looking kind of guys, and it suddenly gets really goofy and slowly goes downhill from there when you realize there aren't really any more sets. That's as good as it's gonna get. And then they go to Earth because of the Keymaster with this guy Gorgon or Gorgon. He was basically the Orko replacement because they didn't have the special effects in 1987 to make Orko, so they're just like, well, forget that. We'll just make Gorgie, I guess. I had his action figure, I don't know his name. And then they go to Earth where Courtney Cox and her boyfriend are in a cemetery because her parents are dead, and then they find this, like, the key that gets him into places, and he thinks it's a synthesizer, and Skeletor wants to get the key, but also get He-Man, even though I would have just left him on Earth. I mean, I first saw this movie, I was 4 years old, and my mom took me, and which was really nice of her. Thanks, Mom. I remember everyone was bigger than me, which I thought was incredibly crazy and a little frightening, because I was like, whoa, there are a lot of people here, and they are all really big. I remember seeing it on the big screen and thinking it was like, whoa, and being like almost overwhelmed by it. But I didn't see that many movies on the big screen. I'd seen like Follow That Bird and like this Yogi Bear movie apparently, and maybe a couple of Disney films. I was a big He-Man fan. Actually, He-Man's what got my parents to let me like watch more violent stuff, because I think I was on the playground and everyone was talking about He-Man, and I had like no clue who that was. So I watched He-Man, I got really super into it. It centers mostly on Earth, basically for budget reasons, I assume, and like no one could have made that show accurately into a movie then. So this is what they did. I like kind of how there's not many extras, I assume, because they didn't have enough money for that kind of stuff. And like the whole end battle sequence is in this town square at night, so presumably not many people actually knew any of this happened. Like they didn't really play off too much, but it is a little weird, like, why do that? Like, what? There's, like, explosions and, like, lasers shooting off. I mean, I kind of feel like someone would have known. This isn't a great role for Dolph Lundgren. You know, this is no Rocky IV. He-Man in the cartoon was is a lot more happy and jovial and, you know, American, and Dolph Lundgren just isn't those things. Even as a kid, I liked the cartoon a lot more, and it's not the greatest made film. I think it makes up for not having the greatest budget. It's funny about Frank Langella being in this movie because I think he was having a lot of fun. It's like one of those performances, like some of the times people get over the top and it's just ridiculous and stupid. And I think this is one where it is really ridiculous, but I give him credit because that didn't look like it was the easiest thing to take seriously. And I feel like as an actor, Frank Langella took this kind of seriously. Don't give him an Oscar or anything, but he definitely has like a certain presence as Skeletor. It used to be called Masters of the Universe, the motion picture, but I guess since it's been on DVD, it's just called Masters of the Universe, whatever. I do kind of watch this every now and then. It's a guilty pleasure, and I think it's fine to have guilty pleasures to watch. I think they did the best they could with a lot of it, and I don't entirely hate it. I don't think it's good by any means, but it's kind of just a fun movie. I mean, I'd recommend it to people who like have seen Masters of the Universe, or know who Dolph Lundgren is, or know what Masters of the Universe is, or have already seen this movie. So if you're none of those people, don't see this movie. So I will be here every Tuesday from now on. I wanted to thank all the Rough Cuts for letting me be a rough cutter and do videos for this channel, and also wanted to thank the former holder for Tuesdays, Lindsay Boo, holding down Tuesdays for so long. Thank you for watching, Rough Cut viewers, and if you'd like to talk about Masters Universe in the comments, comment below, and keep watching the Rough Cuts, and check out my channel, my Twitter, Tumblr, and potentially VHX. And thank you. Have a good day. The studio that made this was planning a sequel, and at the end, that's why Skeletor, after the credits, pops out of the water and goes, "I'll be back," because they were planning one. They had to pay Mattel some kind of contract fees or some sort of fees, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to cost a lot of money, so never mind." And they actually had like costumes made and sets built, and then those were used in the film Cyborg. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today's movie is 2010, and since it is 2010, everyone is going to be saying, "Hey, you should see 2010 because it's 2010." Like how everybody watched 2001 again on 2001. One of my pet peeves with this movie, and I was thinking about this today actually, is if you're going to do a sequel to a movie called 2001, I just think no-brainer, call it 2002. But these smartasses, I guess, decided not to wait until the franchise got to 2010. They just want to go to 2010. That's cool, I guess. Kubrick did give his blessings. Why? Probably because he didn't give a shit. He was like, "Oh, alright." Because he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure that'll be better than my movie, 2001, greatest thing ever. Have fun making your piece of shit." This guy, Peter Hyams, I think, he's not Stanley Kubrick, obviously. He did A Sound of Thunder, which is he hasn't really done big classics. This isn't bad. This is a good movie. Everyone says it's horrible. Compared to 2001, yes, it's, I mean, you know, talk about expectations. Holy shit, you know. I mean, I think he did a good job for what he had. The matte paintings in this are beautiful. I mean, Jesus, like, this reminds me of the matte paintings in Black Hole, which I thought were phenomenal as well. But this was like, I really like the matte paintings in this. You know, the story, this whole thing with the Russians and stuff, I mean, that's cool. I kind of think the political thing's a little lame, because, like, yeah, I get that it's, like, the Cold War and stuff, and that's fine. In the time you're in, you think that time period is going to last for, like, 50 years, and that's a little unrealistic. So I think that kind of holds it back to its time period, where 2001 is kind of, it's almost ageless a little bit. This is like, hey, when was this made? 1984, because everyone can tell. You know, it's like stamped on it the whole time, practically. And Helen Mirren playing a Russian, a little odd. Like, there were no Russian actresses who could have done it. John Lithgow is in it, he's good. That dude from Jaws, yeah, I don't know his name, who cares? Well, I know Roy Schneider, I think he's Rob Schneider's dad, I don't know, whatever. He's good, you know, and the guy who is the Ghost World chick's dad, you know, everyone's gonna be like, 2010, the year we made contact. Like, the year we made contact? Excuse me, didn't they make contact in 2001? What was that whole, the lights thing and all that shit? So, this isn't the year we made contact. This is like, that other time. I think Black Hole's better. Ooh, that wasn't nice. Point is, yeah, if you want to do it, do it. It's 2010. You only have however many days, like, to do it. So, yeah, I just say do it early. If you have seen 2010 and would like to say stuff about it or whatever or what have you, comment below down there. And subscribe if you would like to. And yeah, so, yeah. 2010. Hey, what's up, Rough Cuts? It's Jim, and today's film is Fire in the Sky, a true-life account of a alien abduction by the guy who was abducted, Travis Walton, and how he was abducted for 5 days. He was in the ship, and then they brought him back, and they found him naked and incoherent in a gas station really far away from where they picked him up from. And his friends were blamed for killing him or kidnapping him or whatever in the meantime. And it really focuses on his friends and what they had to deal with. Because when you're making a film about an alien abduction, what's more interesting? His 5 or 6 friends, I guess, who drove away while he got abducted and they watched him get zapped and left him there? Or the guy in the spaceship? Now you'd think, like, common sense wise, you'd probably want to see a movie with the guy in the spaceship, because that's more interesting, and just interest levels. If someone goes, hey, you want to hear about this guy's 5 friends who were almost convicted of murder but weren't because you were in a spaceship, and how they felt about it and how they felt about leaving you and stuff. It's somewhat of an interesting plot line, and Robert Patrick acts the hell out of it. And it's actually him acting in this role. Chris Carter saw Robert Patrick in this role, and he liked him so much that he then put him in the X-Files later, and it's because of this role he got that role. So, you know, I think Robert Patrick really does a great job, but I think it's kind of misconceived because, like, when you look at the poster of this movie, it's like this guy getting, like, sucked up, you know, by an alien spaceship, like, with this beam of light, and then you have, like, the trailer is, like, heavy on the parts in the alien spaceship, but the alien spaceship parts aren't until the end, because apparently he had an episode and hallucinated him being on the ship during the party. But you don't even get, like, this full-long sequence. It's very short, and it's really well shot. This is shot by Bill Pope, who would later shoot The Matrix, and he'd already shot Darkman at this time. He shot the 3 Spider-Man movies, he shot Team America, and he shot Scott Pilgrim. The stuff in the alien ship when he's abducted, it's really well done. Some people say it's some of the best alien abduction stuff ever filmed, and maybe it is. It's definitely very, very good. But the problem is it's like, that's the part you want to see in the movie. That's what's being advertised. That's what got you into the theater. And you're watching his friends discuss how it felt to see him get zapped and then disappear. You know, it's kind of like, I don't really care so much about them. I took this kind of almost like journalistic approach to the story, but not in a very interesting way, because why would I want to hear about all these people? It's just kind of boring, and I'm basically only hearing about Robert Patrick. The other ones, the other guys just seem kind of like background noise almost. Like, it just doesn't really work as a drama, because, like, why would I care about these guys? Maybe it's not the filmmaker's fault, because maybe he didn't think it was going to be advertised that way, but even without the advertising, it's like, it's fire in the sky, it's about alien abductions. Show me alien abductions, like, show me something. Don't show me people talking. You know, an accurate poster for this movie would have been a bunch of dudes sitting around a table, you know, maybe thinking about the guy getting sucked up. Maybe they could have, like, had that image be above them while they're thinking about talking or something. I don't know. When this movie came out, I was about 8 years old, and it scared the crap out of me. Like, I really was spooked by this movie, and so much so, like, when I read comic books, they had this ad. I would kind of wish it wasn't in the comic book. I would always wish it was on the back cover, so maybe I wouldn't have to look at it, because I just the idea of, like, seeing this strong image, and it's a great poster, you know, this beam of light, like, beaming up this, like, this guy, like, looks like really freaky, like, what's gonna happen to him. And even the TV ads I remember were like the trailer, and they were, like, really shocking and scary, and it spooked me out a lot. Like, I thought I could never see fire in the sky because it would be so scary. It didn't scare me so much. It's just kind of not a very well crafted film. It's like one of those movies where the poster's cool, the trailer's cool, the idea's cool, but the thing you want it to be isn't what it is. And when you see what it is, you're like, oh. And that kind of, you know, I hadn't ever seen it until recently, because when in the 90s, or when I was a kid, or when I was 8 years old, that freaked me out so much, and it was scared the crap out of me. But now when I look at it, I just think it's really lame. So, rough cuts, that was Fire in the Sky. And subscribe to my main channel, as well as follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and potentially VHX. And remember to follow Earl Barrett Holloway's Tumblr as well, who does the picture at the beginning and end of this video. And I hope to see you next Tuesday. Hey, what's up, Rough Cuts? It's Jim. Today is Tuesday, and today's film is It, the Terror from Beyond Space. A guy who's on Mars, and he traveled there in his ship with, like, a bunch of people. And then everyone has been killed, and they assume that he did it. So they come to get him, arrest him, and then he's gonna stand in front of the firing squad. And as they get him, they realize that he isn't killing them, this monster is, and this monster, as they're going from Mars back to Earth, is in their ship, and is slowly, like, killing them, or kind of, like, sucking all the life out of them or something. And if you're like, hey, doesn't that sound a lot like Alien? You're right, because this was the inspiration for Alien. This is something, and Ridley Scott admits it, that they looked at this film and kind of took the concept and the idea. It's interesting because this film has a lot of elements that were later put in the Alien film, and even the James Cameron Aliens. There were a couple instances where I was like, wow. There is a scene in the vents. There is also clearly the alien being there and like not being able to see the alien for a little bit. They don't do it as creatively and as long and build up the tension that the Alien film does, but it's still there. And that's really interesting for the time period because this film came out in 1958, about 20 years before Alien came out. It was directed by this guy, Edward L. Kahn, or C-A-H-N, I hope that's how you say it. He directed a lot of the Little Rascals shorts. That's pretty much what he's best known for. He also did a lot of like B drive-in stuff like The She Creature, and he also did this. I think he actually does a pretty good job, and it's one of the better monster movies of kind of the drive-in movie, B-movie era that I've seen. I definitely probably put it pretty high up there. The sets are actually pretty well made, and there is actually a claustrophobic feeling to the ship, which was kind of an interesting little element. And also it's one of the few space movies I've seen where they don't have ray guns, they have guns, like with bullets. I like the alien design for the time period. I mean, this is almost, I look at this like if I was watching Venture Brothers and they cut to like to the past and they show like what superheroes were like in like the 1920s and such. This was done with such a low budget, but I like the spirit of it. If you're more familiar with drive-in movies, this is an absolute treat. It's only 6 to 8 minutes, which I also like. I love it when movies are short. I'm like, thank God. Because I watch so many, it's just like, you know, oh, okay, I have some time to do something else, I guess. I liked all the design of Mars. A lot of the dialogue can get a little boring between the characters. It feels like they're on a lame TV show or something. For the time period and for what it inspires, I think it was a great little movie. I definitely recommend it if you're into science fiction, because it's also interesting because I had no clue this was the inspiration of Alien when I saw it, and then I was like, oh wow, you know, and then when I thought about it, I was like, oh, a creature stuck in a spaceship with this crew, that's interesting, you know. And it's also interesting when I was watching it, there's so much inspiration that Cameron took from it as well when he made his Alien sequel. And I'm wondering if he had actually seen this, although I can't find any information on that James Cameron did see this. So if you have seen It, the Terror from Beyond Space, and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments. Thank you very much, Rough Cut viewers, for letting me review yet another movie. And I will be back next Tuesday. Please subscribe to my main channel and follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and potentially VHX. And follow Earl Barrett Holloway's Tumblr. He's the guy who did the picture before and after this video. And thank you very much. So that was the Old Review Omnibus. I hope you enjoyed seeing our reviews that I had made that were not on this channel come back to this channel and be part of it, which is kind of cool. Thank you all very much for watching this and watching my old stuff, kind of reheating my leftovers as I usually do with the Old Review Omnibus. I think it's cool to look back at these sci-fi ones, especially Masters of the Universe, because I can never not talk about that movie for every couple of years, so I'll probably review that, but the rest probably not. So I hope you enjoyed seeing these. I still have some more Old Review Omnibuses to go. I still have older stuff that has not been re-released through this format that I plan on doing that too. So I hope you've enjoyed this series. I think it'll be a little more regular going forward. And yeah, so if you've seen any of the movies I talked about in the Old Review Omnibus, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.